5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back, and today we're going to continue looking at the ioSafe 1019. For those that aren't aware, last week, well in my last week anyway, we took this device outside with its fully populated NAS. We got hard drives all pre-installed, Seagate Iron Wolf NAS drives, and then we set this NAS on fire. We lit a barbecue, put the thing on the flames for about, give or take, I think it was about half an hour. I think it even overspanned just a little bit there. Then, after we torched it, we submerged the device in water. Originally, we weren't going to submerge the device in about 10 minutes. And then we decided, you know what, it says it can last 72 hours, so I'm sure we can add a little bit more on. So, we ended up submerging the device for, give or take, about half an hour. Once we got it from that water, we then took the device, removed the external chassis. This is the device we have on the table right here. And then we took the drives and installed them inside this. This is the DS1019 Plus, and the 1019 Plus, we then ended up booting the device and then found out that the ioSafe managed to protect all of our hard drives, and all of those hard drives and all the data that was inside. What I'm going to do is get all 5 of these drives installed back inside the ioSafe NAS. Then we're going to get the front paneling reattached. Then we're going to take this down to the span warehouse and have ourselves some fun. We're going to drop this device from an 8 feet height, once again, give or take. And I do think it's worth highlighting that ioSafe do not endorse this. If you do get yourself an ioSafe device, do bear in mind that as much as they guarantee your data is protected from fire and flooding, they will not cover you for shock. Although the device almost certainly will survive a number of these things, they're not prepared to guarantee that mechanical hard drives will survive this kind of drop. Now, why is this important? Well, a number of you out there, if you do get hold of a device like this and you want protection from fire and flooding, that means you have to expect that if you are in a building with multiple floors, your device may have a drop from a certain height. Maybe foundations will go. Maybe the floor underneath will give way. Perhaps the ceiling above your device, that will give way too. Or during the flooding, foundations and structures will become waterlogged, damaged, and inevitably fail. So in that event, the idea of knowing if the ioSafe can withstand certain kinds of shock damage is important. Now, it's worth highlighting, I don't know how this test is going to turn out. Regardless of the results, I am going to publish this video, and I hope that the same 5 individual volumes that we've created for the previous video, which I do recommend you check out before watching this, will help you understand and see why this test is important. Just to clarify, we have got 5 individual volumes set up, one on each of these drives. Each one has got its own storage pool. There isn't RAID across all 5 drives because we wanted to make sure that the drives each would survive this. So right now, these individual volumes were proven to all be fine when we did the ioSafe to 1019 from Synology transfer. And once we've got this downstairs, we're going to do that drop from 8 feet. We're hopefully going to have a couple of camera angles. It should look lovely. Then we're going to see if those Seagate drives survive this drop. Moreover, if they do survive this drop, we may have to ramp things up and make it a little bit more aggressive. On top of that, it's worth highlighting, once again, ioSafe do not endorse this. They do not guarantee that this will survive this drop. So this is no fault of theirs if it doesn't survive this drop. It's quite an extreme scenario I'm going for, and the same goes for Seagate hard drives. The kind of drop that I'm talking about, technically no hard drive should survive a drop like this. So it'll be interesting to see how this fares. So we've got all 5 of those drives installed now, and I've changed the camera angle, as you can see on screen. We're moving and getting that main panel attached. Now this is what creates and completes the seal of that bay of all of those drives. Once again, all 5 drives have come out of the Synology 1019. I'm sorry for the camera shake throughout this video. It's been very hard because this table here, I'm not sure it's up to the 25 kilos of weight that this device has. So again, I apologise for any movement of camera throughout this. I just thought you guys would want to see the whole sealing process of this device. with all of these drives going back inside this chassis before we do the drop. Now again, we'll be moving this over to downstairs. We'll get those drives out of this after the drop test. I think the chassis should survive. If anything, I'm slightly worried about the floor, but it'll be interesting to see just how well this does. So let's make our way downstairs to the drop. Right, so we're here in the warehouse. You can tell from that big old echo, it is going to be a nightmare to control sound with this video. What we're going to do is we're going to get that device and we're going to put it up there about 8 feet. Then we're going to drop that bad boy on the ground. We want to see if the data on those Seagate NAS drives, those ioWall 4TBs, can survive. And hopefully the ioSafe 1019 chassis is going to protect that data. So, I know what you're waiting for. Let's get on it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we've done the drop. Let's take a look at this bad boy. I can already tell you there is a little bit of bucklage. The front panel has removed, and the more astute of you may have noticed during the drop that the bottom panel flew straight out. Now, if we turn it around, we can see that not only did the bottom panel remove, because we obviously removed the bottom memory panels already, but as we turn it around, we can hear some of those moving parts inside. Now, that could easily be the motherboard inside and that controller board which have shattered on the impact. Again, I'll have to re-watch the video to find out exactly what point this device physically took the biggest impact. The floor is relatively unscathed, which makes me feel a bit better because, you know, you want to get your deposit back. But apart from that, what I'm going to do is get this front panel removed and get this upstairs so we can find out more about whether it survived, or those drives, I should say, survived the impact. Let's go. Well, here we are back in here. Gotta say right now, I've watched some of those videos and I won't lie, that bang noise that this made, fairly impressive. Hopefully that still makes it into the edit. But what I'm going to do now is remove the external of this chassis here at the front, and we're going to see if these drives are indeed recoverable. I might do a nice speed up montage, but for now, let's take it nice and slow. Now, the front chassis, as I say, is definitely buckled, this front bit. The side panel definitely took the hit, but what's going to be particularly interesting is whether the inside chassis there, that metal surround that's on those hard drives, has withstood, because that's where the hard drives live. Everything else is designed to protect it from heat and water, but it's going to be interesting to see if that external has survived. So we can see here from the front that there is a small crack on that stuff, but it's purely superficial. It's just on the outside with that internal materials still being very, very well protected. The sides of it, you can see little flecks of dust where the kind of thin veneer of plastic have cracked. But apart from that dust, there doesn't seem to be too much overall damage there on that external, and it has maintained its shape. It's also flat as well there. If we look inside, I can see lots of superficial cracks all around the edge of this plastic material. It doesn't go any deeper than cracks. It's literally just this outside material, like a skin, like a PVC skin, but I'm sure it's more than that. And the inside still seems to have maintained its solidity. So let's get that out of there. Let's see if we can hear that hiss. Probably not this time. No, no hiss. If we remove that panel, the drives look exactly the same, but of course shock damage is a lot more invisible than we give it credit for. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get these drives removed one by one, and just like last time, probably with the same awful lift music, move these drives into this Synology DS1019. Let's go. Bum, 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 bum. Right, so we've got the final drive being installed here. I've got to say, during the course of these drives, I have not seen a single mark on these drives. I didn't really expect there to be any marks, but I do think it's worth highlighting that. Now, for those that are watching this video that know a lot about hard drives, chances are you're already highlighting the biggest cause of damage to these drives, and that is of course going to be shock. It's going to travel that energy when it hit the ground through the device and probably through the drives. So that is going to be what kills this drive. Not physical damage so much as the shock damage and the movement within that chassis. It's also worth mentioning that this test is not about showing you guys that these drives are going to survive and therefore you can just carry on using them, carrying on. It's really not like that. If you do end up having a scenario like the ones we talked about with flooding, fire and shock damage to drives, these drives may or may not survive this test. But the point is, you need to get a new RAID array afterwards. Do not rely on these disks, because if there is any damage, it could be happening further down the line. So do bear that in mind. But without further ado, we've got the drives inside our new NAS, the same 1019 we had before. We're going to power that bad boy up, and then we're going to move over to this screen so we can go into the Disk Station Manager software and find out if our drives and the volumes have survived. Let's move over to the screen. Okay, so we're back on the desktop user interface here. I've already searched the area network, but just to show you again, it's appeared here. The ioSafe drives inside that Synology NAS have appeared. That's why the server's got that name from before. And remember, do check out the fire and flooding video to learn more about the procedure we've gone through here. But it's already looking relatively promising. I can tell you right now that I've not heard any bad noises coming from those hard drives. So let's make our way into this device. We've got the DSM software opening up. Let's see if any of our volumes have suffered in the drop test earlier. We're making our way into the interface. Let's get the storage manager and file station open, and we are looking for 5 volumes. There we go, they've all appeared there. We've got all of our disks. There's our storage port, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then again, for those that didn't catch it before, there's drive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's drive 1. We've created a share space on there. That's on drive 1. And we'll go through them all one by one. Drive 2, still the 50 gig of data we had there before. Drive 3, 50 gig of data. Drive 4, let's get it selected. There's drive 4, 50 gig of data. And drive 5, 50 gig of data. So it looks like those drives have survived that drop, that rather painful looking drop, and the material that surrounds those drives, that metal casing and the flooding and waterproof materials that surround the internal storage on this device have managed to protect that media. Now, why don't we have a quick look at the drive status? Let's do a quick health check of one of these drives. Let's go for that first drive, and we're going to check the health info on this disk. It is an Iron Wolf Health drive, so we've got Iron Wolf Health Management. We can make our way into that, and we can do a quick report of that drive. It will take a few minutes. It is a 4 TB drive, and we're going to let that complete a scan of one of those drives. We won't do a test of all of the drives. I'm not going to make you guys wait around for that. And it looks like the test has been produced. And we can go through here, have a look at the history. It says the drive is normal. The smart test, let's do a very quick test. And again, I could do a deep SMART test, but I'm not going to make you guys wait around for it, because again, I can't stress this enough that you should not use drives going forward after something like this has occurred. So there's 20% there, and while it's doing that, why don't we try to play a file? So let's go for something on here. Let's go for a Synology. Let's keep it nice and even. Let's go for the SRM overview video that we did. That's Synology router management. Unfortunately, it's going to play in that. So we want it to play. It'll open up in another tab. Oh no, VLC. Don't worry, it's nothing to do with the file. It's just my PC. The number of times I have to system reset this VM, hence this stupid activate Windows thing every bleeding time. Don't even get me started. We're at 80% there with the smart test. We can look up some other files, look at some picture files perhaps. We've not really set up too much on this device. So, carry on. Let's try and get some photos, shall we? Carry on there. Xmas karaoke. Have we got any files in there? Let's have a look. The Xmas background. I don't know if you guys remember any of those videos that we did before at Christmas. Have a look over here. Okay, it's saying things are absolutely fine, which is not too shabby. Next, let's have a look at the notifications panel. And that's just the one from 5 days ago during our transfer of all of that data. But I'm going to say that these drives, these 4 TB Seagate Iron Wolf drives, survived this hefty height drop using the ioSafe protection. And again, can't say fairer than that. I won't lie, I kind of hoped it might break, just because, let's face it, these are still hard drives. So I think I'm going to have to do one last test on these drives. But nevertheless, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. If you've got any questions or queries or stuff you want me to do to this box before I completely write it off, do let me know. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.